Spooks, man, with the 4th of July horror stories, man. Happy 4th of July, man. Make sure y'all vote for Tesos for president. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? If I were president, 4th of July, we had a whole week off with pay. Just food and prices are high. Vote for Tesos. And I won't draft nobody in the military. No disrespect. Cause I ain't going, man. I'm gonna be doing videos in prison like this. Just like this, nigga. Doing videos dead in prison while everybody going to war. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it, man. And I'm dead ass serious too. But that last part.
This is something that happened back when I was a 10-year-old kid. During this time, I lived with my parents and sister in a very populated neighborhood. It was a residential area with countless streets, houses, and parks. And every year on the 4th of July, there would be a huge parade. The parade route would go down our street every time. So we would go outside and sit on the edge of the yard and watch it. Our house was somewhat uphill from the road, so the yard slanted down a little and it gave a good view of the parade. The parade would be sometime in the late morning, and I remember on the year of this
Late
story,
morning.
we went outside a while before it started. Some people had already started to gather around and sit on the curbs in the street and stuff. We went to our usual spot. I remember that my sister and I would always go really close to the street. Soon the parade started. I enjoyed it because a lot of the people that were in the parade would toss candy at the kids, and I would get a bunch every year.
I used to throw that
So
motherfucker.
the
I ain't gonna
parade
lie.
was going on, and there were tons of people involved.
I
There
ain't
were a
gonna
lot
lie.
of floats as well as
When my grandpops were goddamn, he was in election for councilman. I ain't gonna lie. Boy, I used to throw them motherfucking cans like a motherfucker. I ain't gonna lie. And my grandpops won, nigga. Third run, nigga, city council,
people
nigga.
walking.
Fuck you talking about?
The first thing strange that I noticed was that there was a guy who was dressed in a red, white, and blue jacket and a long beard. He was walking and waving to people and stuff. But then when he went past us, he appeared to walk into our yard. There were these two huge trees at the end of our yard. Well, one of the trees was in our yard, and the other was in our next door neighbor's property, technically. He sort of went between the two trees, and I didn't really know what he was doing there. That area is sort of out of the way, because there was also a really big bush nearby. But still, with all of these people around, I couldn't be the only one who noticed him, but it kind of seemed like I was. He went out of my sight, though, appearing to go into our next door neighbor's property. I went right back to watching the parade at that point, and forgot all about it. As a kid, I didn't really think too much of it.
Hell no.
The parade went on for probably another 20 or 30 minutes, and I had forgotten all about the man. When the parade ended, people slowly started to clear out. My family was going to my grandparents' house, who only lived a couple of miles away. We went back inside for maybe an hour and then left. So we were at my grandparents' until probably around sunset. At that time, I remember we left and headed back home. After the probably 5-minute drive back to our house, we got out of the car and headed inside. But when we got to the front door, I remember we noticed a couple of things that were strange.
Oh shit.
One was that the screen to our house was open a little. We had a screen door and then an actual door. And the screen door would never shut all the way unless you forced it shut, which
Call the police. Or go in there with your gun and then
we
call the
always
police.
did.
Do it all
So it
together.
seemed as though somebody had been to our door. Also, there were some flowers planted below a window out front, and some of them appeared to have been trampled. We realized somebody had been in our yard while we were away, and this person had either tried entering our front door or had knocked on it. We figured that with it being the 4th of July, there were probably a lot of people out in the neighborhood. Many people on the street were having barbecues and that sort of stuff. It's possible some people were just messing around and cut through our yard or something. Perhaps some teenagers or drunk young adults did it. Either way, we went inside the house, but were a little bit nervous. However, after turning on all the lights, everything seemed to be just fine. I quickly felt much better and was no longer worried. We were going to go out into the backyard and play with some sparklers, We were also going to have a fire in the small fire pit that we
I
had
was
in the
call a
yard
family.
and make s'mores. I
Mm.
can't remember what my parents and sister were busy doing inside, but they said that they would be out in a minute. I decided to go out into the backyard first. So I went into the dark backyard, which was only lit by a
I'm
lamp
not
in
even
the back
finna
of the
pause it off
house.
that.
When I got back there, almost instantly after closing the back door, I heard a noise. I really wasn't sure what it was, but I knew that a bush had moved. In our neighborhood, with how populated it was, we really didn't get many animals. Maybe an occasional rabbit and lots of squirrels, but whatever made this noise was definitely much larger. I looked over in the direction, but did not see anything. There were several trees and bushes in the yard all around, and it wasn't well lit. I stayed out there, and after a few moments of nothing, I convinced myself that it was just some sort of an animal. I started to walk around the yard, just waiting for my parents and sister. During this time, I was walking near the back of the house when I saw something. There was something blue on the ground underneath a bush. I honestly don't know how I spotted it, but I walked over and looked closer. There was a big blue jacket, like the one the man in the parade had been wearing. It was all crumpled up and really small. I noticed that it was also red, white, and blue, and I looked inside the jacket, and there was a fake long white beard that the guy was wearing too. This probably belonged to the same guy who was walking into our yard at the parade.
Definitely.
I then remembered that. I was creeped out and wanted to go back inside now. When I moved away from the bush, that's when I saw the guy. There was a man standing at the far back of our yard near the fence. He was walking slowly along the edge of it. I quickly ran to the back door and went in. I locked the door behind me and found my parents. When I told them about the guy, they called the police. Then we waited inside without hearing or seeing anything from the man. When the police got there, they searched the backyard, but the man was gone. His things that he had hid in the bushes were also gone. After the police left, I was pretty nervous that the guy would return, but he didn't. I think that when he noticed I saw him, he must have decided to leave. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't noticed him.
You would have got kidnapped, bro. Sorry to say it like that. You definitely would have got kidnapped.
This happened a few years ago. I was hosting a 4th of July party at my house. It wasn't actually the 4th, but it was the weekend of the 4th. So I lived in a smaller and older house not far outside of the city. A few coworkers had been to my place before, and somehow I got nominated to host the 4th of July party.
Facts.
There would be over 30
Y'all know
people
mine
there
be
and
turned.
about 20
Big booty
coworkers,
bitches,
and many were bringing
liquor,
significant others.
money,
So my
weed,
house has 2 stories, and then a small front yard and a small
cocaine, but I ain't doing it.
The entire backyard is basically just a patio. There's a few feet along the west side of it that's grass. The backyard is entirely fenced in, aside from my driveway, which leads to an alley and then my garage. The property is pretty closed off from my neighbors. So I got ready for the party by getting a bunch of...
I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I know I keep talking on the video. I know y'all don't kind of like that. But I was just playing about the other parts. But y'all know not the weed. You ain't gonna lie.
Food and drinks and things like that.
Y'all already know.
I set up, and when the day came, a bunch of my coworkers started coming over. It was a nice and sunny day, and people could be outside or inside in the air conditioning. I remember that after the party started, things were going very well at first. Everybody seemed to be having a good time, and I was outside, but then went in. I was talking with a few people in my house for a while. When I went into the kitchen, one of my coworkers approached me and said that a weird guy was there. She thought that maybe I knew him, and said that nobody outside seemed to know who he was. I was very confused, and I asked her to show me the guy. We both went over to the doorway leading out to the backyard. When we got there, a bunch of people were in the yard. At first, she couldn't spot him, but she was telling me that he was saying weird stuff and making some people uncomfortable. Overall, something seemed off about the guy. Finally, she located him and pointed the guy out. I then walked outside and got a better look. The man was somewhat large, had kind of messy hair that went past his ears, and was drinking a beer. I did not recognize this man at all. He was sort of standing by himself in the corner, near where the alleyway was. He appeared to just kind of be watching people. I started walking over to approach the guy. I was going to ask him who he was, but when I got about 30 feet away from him, he looked right at me. The man then turned and quickly started walking away back down my narrow driveway, which went from the backyard to past my house and the street.
You fucking pervert.
Before making it out of the backyard area, though, he stopped, grabbed another beer out of a cooler, and then kept going. I never got to talk to the man, and he walked at a fast pace back down the driveway and then onto the connecting sidewalk. It was really strange. I figured that some random guy was walking by and must have seen there was a party and just stopped in for whatever reason. The neighborhood was pretty busy and did get quite a few people walking down the sidewalks throughout the day and stuff, but this was still really weird. I went around and asked a few people about the guy. Apparently, he was approaching some people and asking strange questions. I was also told that he was just staring at a few people and did not look away for a really long time. At least he was gone now, though. I was outside most of the rest of the party. Luckily, the man did not return. After people started leaving to go,
y'all gotta watch who y'all. Me personally, you come to my house party. It's who you is. If I don't know you, cuz if I don't fuck with you, cuz you getting the fuck out of my house, cousin, nigga, auntie, nigga. I don't give a fuck. You getting out of my house, bro. So he should have did a check. You feel me? Or had people like his close friends. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be on the lookout for people that y'all don't know type shit. You know what I'm saying? Escort them, something like that. Cause I definitely.
home. There was maybe an hour before it was just me. Then I started to clean everything up. Not a whole lot needed to be done. Just take out the garbage, take in a few folding tables and some chairs, as well as the food and drinks. As I was doing this, I walked past my narrow driveway to take some garbage out. When I was on the driveway, I looked down it into the street. I noticed that standing right in the middle of my driveway where the sidewalk intersected it was the same man. He was just standing there
That motherfucker
and
weird.
staring at me, it appeared. I didn't know what to do, so I sort of waved. The man did not wave back. Then I continued to take out the garbage, which was at the back corner of my backyard. When I was walking back, though, I noticed the man was walking up my driveway towards me. I didn't know what he wanted, but I stayed there to meet him. When the man reached me, I said hi to him. The man asked me if he could use my bathroom quick. I really did not want this guy in my house, and I said no. Then I asked the man if he was at the party earlier. The man denied it and said no. Clearly, this was the same guy. He then asked once more if he could go inside my house really quick. I said no to the guy again, but he still didn't leave. By this point, I was getting kind of nervous. I didn't really know what to do or say. I wasn't quite done cleaning, but I wanted to go inside. So I said, well, I'll see you later. Then I turned and started walking back towards the back door of my house. But when I did, the man began to follow me. I knew that I couldn't go inside anymore, and I turned to walk in another direction. I figured that the man would continue to follow me, but he didn't. The guy walked right up to my back door, opened it up, and went inside. When I saw this, I started to follow him, and I yelled at him to stop.
His ass would have been catching some bullets.
I
Fucking with me.
realized that maybe this guy could be dangerous. Instead, I went back to the end of the alley and went to my car, which was parked in front of the garage. Then I called the police. I waited there until they arrived. When they got there, the man was found hiding in my basement. It really creeped me out when I heard that. I really don't know who the guy was or why he wanted to go inside of my house. But I remembered back to earlier in the party when he walked away from me after I started to approach him. He seemed to know that I was the homeowner. If he was talking to a bunch of other people, but then walked away from just me, that was odd. I wondered if he had seen me before or something. I'm really glad that I didn't go back into my house after him. I'm not sure what he was capable of.
Grown ass man. Grown. I'm gonna take it that this was a man, cause they never. Sometimes I hate. Sometimes they need to start putting in perspective. Is it a he or she? Or they probably have, and I just didn't catch on. I'm high right now, and this is my second video, so you feel me? I'm trying to go ahead and edit and post. Y'all know how I am. When I edit it, I'm gonna go back to it. I think I fucked up. I don't know if it was female or male, but if it was male, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
When I was 17 years old is when this story takes place. During this time, I was in high school and living with my parents. Our house was in this neighborhood, kind of near a park. It was a dense neighborhood with lots of other houses nearby. Each year on the 4th, there would be a huge firework display at the park near where we lived. Sometimes we would go to the park, and other times we would just watch the fireworks from our yard. They were still pretty easy to see from there. The entire neighborhood would always be extremely busy during this time. Many people from all over the city would come to watch these fireworks, and just about everybody who lived in the neighborhood would either go to the park or go outside. There would be a lot of cars parked on the side of the streets, and a big traffic jam in the area before and after. That year, a few of my friends from school were going to the park for the fireworks, and I was joining them. Some lived in the area, and others were driving. I think that it would be about a total of 5 of us. So
Y'all
that night, at around
deep as
8
hell.
p.m., I left our house to meet with my friends at the park. The fireworks were not supposed to start until 9 something, but we were going to hang out for a while. I saw there was already a lot of cars parked and people on the sidewalks. I made my way to the park, which took me almost 10 minutes to walk there. When I arrived, it was pretty crowded. The park was big, but it also had more than just the fireworks. There were food trucks and a few places to get drinks and things like that.
That how my place was.
Many people were
See, I
hanging
stayed
out
there.
and enjoying the night, and I was able to find my friends and we met up. The fireworks took place at the normal time, and we sat in the grass and watched them. When they were over, we talked for a bit and then started going our separate ways. My house was not in the direction that my other friends were going, so I left through the side of the park that connected to my neighborhood and started walking back by myself. The park was still really crowded when I left. At first, going onto the sidewalks, those were really busy as well. But once I had made it a couple of blocks away, it cleared up significantly. I still had a ways to go though. But as I continued to walk, I did notice there was this guy who appeared to be following me. Because when I first noticed him was when I crossed the street. I looked around, and somebody across the street and behind me shot off a firework in their front yard. So when I looked into that direction, I noticed a man on the sidewalk like 40 feet behind me or so. By this time, there was not really anybody else on that sidewalk but me and him. I thought nothing of it though. As I kept going, I soon turned, and the man also turned. Through crossing a few more streets and even turning again, I could still hear the guy's footsteps behind me.
Oh no.
I was actually starting to get nervous. He followed me the almost 10-minute walk back, but soon my house was in sight. When I got to my house and was just out front of it, I made a really quick veer off to the right. I walked right up to the front step without looking back and got my keys out. I was able to quickly unlock the door and go inside. Once I was in, I locked the door behind me and I looked back. When I looked out the window, I saw that the guy was now walking out of our front yard, and I saw him make it back onto the sidewalk.
He finna
So
rob
it
your
appeared
ass.
as though maybe he had started to follow me.
He finna rob your ass, guy.
I'm really glad that I was able to make it inside so fast. I figured the man was gone, and that was that. My parents were in the living room watching TV. I was inside for maybe 30 minutes, and then there was a knock at the front door. This was pretty strange, with it being about 11 o'clock at night. I went over and looked out the window. The same man who had followed me home was standing there. I then went into the living room and told my parents about it. My dad walked over to the door, and after the man knocked again, my dad yelled at him that he was going to call the police. The man turned and sprinted away off the front step and quickly went back onto the sidewalk. After that, he never returned. The memory of this event still gives me the creeps when I think about it. I don't know what that man's plans were that night.
He finna rob you. Not gonna lie to you. Nighttime spooks, man. You do it again like you always do. Good videos, you feel me? Vote for Take Us for President. Happy 4th of July. See you when I see y'all, man. Let's ride, man. Make sure y'all get a video thumbs up. Make sure y'all get the last previous 4 videos a thumbs up. Make sure y'all also comment. No matter if it's just W or one single emoji. Make sure y'all comment. Every interaction count. Push the algorithm. See when I see you, let's ride, nigga.